Hey, fans of the Monday Movie Club, here we are. This week, we watched, what did we watch? The 1976 Best Picture Oscar nominee, All the President's Men, which is number 72 on the Franken list. I'm Frank Gaffney. With us, as always, Crash and Bernstein, Jolie. Annie King, who's sitting in the airport waiting to go to Hawaii. And Goldfook and Cringer, of course. Cringer is the star of the show.
As always.
And Mark Wotitz Gartner, I've got Woodward. Okay. Here's the plot of the movie. Two green reporters, they weren't green, were they? And rivals working for the Washington Post, Bob Woodward, played by Robert Redford, and Carl Bernstein, played by Dustin Hoffman. Get it? Crash and Bernstein. They researched the botched 1972 burglary of the Democratic Party headquarters at the Watergate apartment complex. Whew. So the opening of the movie, brilliant. Out of the silence, you hear what sounds like gunshots, and then you see it's actually a typewriter keys hitting the paper. And it's the perfect representation of the power of the press. Those typewriter keys are gunshots that were heard around the world. How's that? I'm so happy I thought of that. And the movie actually made me nostalgic for a time when a president would be investigated and then would resign rather than admit it. Like, oh, those are good days. Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman, right? Woodward and Bernstein. And so their investigative reporting actually brought down President Nixon. And the journey is quite fascinating. And what seemed like this routine burglary at the time turned into the story of the century and this brilliant portrait of these two journalists and their dogged determination to get to the truth. It's a time of rotary phones, no cell phones or internet. So they really had to work to get information. And I love that everyone wore a jacket and tie everywhere they went. Those were brilliant.
And Frank, I just wanted to say that when what you just said with no internet and everything, there was a scene there in the beginning where they were just making all these calls, and I was like, I could have gotten that in 3 minutes off my phone. It took them. I mean, it was I did appreciate how long it would take.
I thought that too. Yeah.
And it's unlikely that in this day and age, Woodward and Bernstein would even have a chance to be the only ones investigating it with our, constant news cycle and 40,000 news outlets now. But they continued to dig and they uncover extensive evidence of dirty tricks and activities that they call rat fucking, which I'd never heard of before. Stuffing ballot boxes, planting spies in the opposition, running fake campaign literature. I mean, the conspiracy really seemed like it sucked everyone in Washington in. But in real life, 69 people were indicted as a result of Watergate investigations, and 48 pleaded or were found guilty. Wow. I was 14 when the break-in occurred. I had very little interest in what was going on in Washington. And even when millions of people were watching the Watergate hearings, because they were broadcast every day, I still had no interest in it. But when this movie was nominated as Best Picture, I had to go see it. And it was a revelation. I felt like Amy Goldman saying, so that's what this movie is about?
That's what this movie is about.
And that's exactly what it was. I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
And again, despite the twists and turns and it's really a complex, everybody who was involved, all the characters and everything, it still managed to make it understandable and so watchable. And there were a few fictional touches used to gussy up the facts. And obviously more people were involved at the Post. I mean, it wasn't just the two of them. I read some things that said that once the story really got going, everybody was so invested in it. They would all be looking for clues and trying to figure out how exactly to get there. And there was one character that they said was so important, the managing editor, who we don't even see in this movie. So he was made composite character with other characters. And the brilliant Follow the Money, that was made up by William Goldman. There was no Follow the Money, and he won an Oscar here, and deservedly so. Because again,
sorry to interrupt, but I think I read that he also came up with the term rat fucking, and then that became a thing.
Oh, I thought it was really a thing.
I think he made it up.
And he deserved the Oscar. And Mark, you may also remember that he wrote Princess Bride.
Yep.
And Jason Robards won too, and the sound and production design also won Oscars. And that the Washington Post, again, I read this, that the room that we see, that big room where everybody is, the reporters are all there, the Washington Post wouldn't let them film on the actual room in the actual building. So the design team created it, and they actually took garbage from the Washington Post to make it look more authentic. I'm like, who's looking at the garbage? But that's the level of detail I personally adore. And when I would do shows, I would do that if I was doing a show. Okay. So much so that when reporters visited the set, they just went to their regular desk. They're like, this is exactly my desk. Directed by Alan J. Pakula, was also nominated, and again, he so brilliantly uses mazes and shadows, perfectly illustrating the torturous paths the reporters account along the way, especially that brilliant shot at the Library of Congress where they're looking through those million pieces of paper, and the camera draws back and you see how they are just little tiny specks.
I took two notes, and that was one of them, that beautiful camera shot going up, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It was the most amazing shot.
And they get dwarfed by all of by Washington, D.C. itself. Beautiful. And of course, then all the, Deep Throat is in the shadows. When Jane Alexander's character, we first see her, she's in the shadows and she comes out. And of course, the under the garage where he meets Deep Throat. I mean, that's just a whole maze right there in the shadows. Beautiful. And I loved that they only used real clips of the people involved. So nobody was playing Richard Nixon. You saw Richard Nixon talking, getting sworn in at the beginning and then resigning at the end. Beautiful. It lost the Best Picture award to Rocky that year. And I won't dispute that, but this movie for me is a very close second. It's a 4-star movie for me. It's the best. It remains the best film ever made about the craft of journalism. That's my opinion. I'm Frank Gaffney. Thanks for joining us. Oh, wait. Annie wants to go next. And
yes.
Had you seen it before?
No, I haven't.
No.
So.
Okay. And in the light of seeing Spotlight last week, which was kind of the same movie.
Right. There's a lot of similarities, definitely. So I said to Danny before we started, everything I know about Watergate, I know from Forrest Gump. And that was it. So it was good to learn about it. It was, and also Joe, who is Morgan's boyfriend, it's his favorite journalistic movie. He was like, it's the best one, that he loves that one. And he's a young kid too. He's only 26, 20.
That's great. It's great that he knows this movie.
Yeah, he watches a lot of old movies. Like, he's been trained well, not like my daughter. But
she watches a lot of old romantic movies.
She watched a lot of Nickelodeon. But I thought it was a little slow at points. It could have moved a little bit more. A lot of similarities. The Spotlight, about how they had to go door to door, knocking on people's doors to get people to talk and stuff. Notes, I love when Robert Redford said, is there any place you don't smoke? In the elevator. It was just hysterical. Did he really smoke, Dustin Hoffman?
Everyone smoked back
It
then.
was the 70s. Wasn't everybody smoking?
Everybody, yeah.
But he said that his character, when he met him, he played Woodward, right? No, he played Bernstein.
Bernstein.
When he met Bernstein, he was covered in ashes because he did smoke so much that they decided to put that into the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cute. And yeah, it was enjoyable. A little bit slow. I thought Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman were great in it. They did, and
It's so
I
easy
liked
to look
it.
at.
Yeah. So to me, again, it's not really my type of thing. I'm gonna go with a 3.5.
I found it hard to
And, you
hear
know-
at points, and I wish we could have done closed
Closed
caption.
caption.
Yeah.
Didn't we do closed caption? We did, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I didn't
we
watch
couldn't,
it on
yeah.
Dropbox. Yeah, I did it on Amazon. So
What was I gonna say? Oh, because it was so soon after this had actually happened.
Yeah.
All of liberal Hollywood wanted to be in the movie. Every single, this was, everybody was on their little soapbox. Let's do this right. So I'm pretty sure people were very willing to be a part of it. But there were so many almost everybody in the movie. I was like,
Wait, Annie has to go.
yeah, I have to. No, I have to. My stand-in's gonna do it for me, but I have to go find a bathroom. Yeah, just it.
What exactly are you doing, Dan?
Standing in.
Danny?
Wait,
You're just holding the camera? Oh, I
Right.
see. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
No?
yeah,
No.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Yes.
I'll take this.
What are we doing? Is this how torturous it was when I was trying to get on the ride?
Experiencing
No, it
technical
was worse.
difficulties.
You getting on the ride was worse than this.
Yeah, it was.
You'd be grateful I didn't go today because
Aw.
Lori and Matt went today.
Oh.
Nice.
Right. So many faces were so familiar because if you watch any TV in the 70s, almost every single person in this movie was an episodic TV person.
Holly Holiday.
Polly Holiday trying to do a real person. Yeah, there were so many.
There were a lot of people I read in the credits, and she was the only one I recognized. Like F. Murray Abraham was one of the police officers.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like blink and you miss it kind of
Yeah.
thing.
But once we switched to Polly's side view, I was like, oh my God, that's Polly Holiday. You could tell by the Bob's Burgers lack of chin.
I have no idea who that is.
Flo on Alice.
Alice. And so
sure.
she was the secretary that wouldn't let Dustin Hoffman into the office.
That was Flo. Oh my God.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
She's also in
Yeah.
Gremlins.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Yeah, she was in Gremlins. You wouldn't recognize her in this because she didn't have the Southern accent.
Right.
No, Kiss My Grits.
Right.
Well, kiss my grits.
I hope Annie comes back.
Yeah.
Or Danny.
She'll come back next week. All right, Mark, you thought it was slow, obviously. I saw you nodding. That was slow.
It took me 5 sittings to get through this.
Aye,
But some of that was circumstantial. I think the problem for me was it was a little too slow in 70s for me in general. And then 2 journalism movies back to back. It was like everyone's talking about superhero fatigue with the MCU. I had journalism fatigue after 1 movie.
Yeah, we should be watching
30 movies to get there, and this just took 2, huh?
2. Yeah, that's
and I
it.
think I'm changing my movie next week to The Post.
Whoa. I just rearranged my entire schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do this
You
to
son
me.
of a bitch, Amy.
Wait, maybe we should watch His Girl Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Funny. For me, last week I used the word riveting. This week, much less so. That was just my take on it. I think similar to Oppenheimer, there were too many names and titles thrown around quickly, so I found myself confused yet again and bored. And the movie was complete BS. Just like Annie said, we all know that Forrest Gump blew the whistle on on Watergate. I did enjoy the opening typewriter, like Frank said, and I also liked that it told us the date. So right away we had that. I saw Jason Robards smile and laugh for the first time ever, so that was a plus. I had read the trivia before watching the movie about the 5 to 6 minute uncut scene with a close up of Robert Redford at his desk about 45 minutes in, making calls, calling this guy, then calling that guy. and he got the names wrong, and he just smiled, and then stayed in character and kept going and then turned and typed. I thought that was absolutely fascinating because I knew that up front that it was a goof, and he never broke character. And
That's funny. I didn't know it was a goof, and when I saw it, because I hadn't read anything on it, I was like, I bet he fucked that up.
You
It
caught
seemed
him.
kind of obvious. He was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
the
I
same
mean,
thing, I wondered about the same thing when he was asking if somebody spoke English, and then he yelled out to the people in the office, anybody speak English? I mean, Spanish? Or vice versa, of course.
Yeah. I wonder.
But I think in that moment you could forget names. You couldn't even remember the names, and you were watching the movie.
I think it was very realistic, and that's
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. Plus, who wants to do another 5 to 6 minute
Yeah.
uncut scene?
I'm sure they did it more than once.
Yeah. I had no real knowledge of Watergate before this, so I did appreciate learning some of that. I respect Deep Throat's ninja.
Nice history classes you had in school.
I don't remember learning anything about it.
And admittedly, history classes around the time Mark was in high school usually didn't get that far.
Yeah, right. It wasn't too
They
much.
kind of glossed over things. So
yeah, and I mean, I obviously knew the name. Everyone, I knew that was associated with Nixon resigning, getting impeached, or whatever it was, and that was it. I had no idea that the manner in which it happened. But I had heard of Woodward and Bernstein. But I like Deep Throat's ninja-like disappearing skills in the garage. Blink and he's just gone. And the ending was not at all what I expected. I thought it was going to be a nice, clean wrap-up. So I kind of appreciated the shot of the two of them still at the typewriter, work. And then but I definitely appreciated the information they gave afterwards. So I appreciated that, but this is not a love for me. It's 2.5 stars. I appreciated it. I'm never going to watch it again. I'm glad that it lost to the best picture, Rocky.
Okay. Aim, had you seen it before?
No, it was definitely on my how have I never seen this movie list? So I'm glad
This was your selection though, right?
It was Annie.
No.
Both of these weeks were Annie. And for the same reason, on the list, you should see it. And I agree with you, Mark. There were a lot of names thrown around. So it was like, wait a minute, who is this? Who is this? It got confusing. And I too don't remember learning that much about Watergate because I was even older. So it was even closer to my time. I mean, I graduated high school only 12 years after this happened. So I don't know that we really learned that much about it. To me, Watergate was just about him getting people to steal a tape. I didn't know about all these 5 people. I'd never heard any of those names of the Cubans or whatever. So I found that hard to follow. There was one other thing you said that I agree with, but I don't remember. It was a little slow, but I really did enjoy it. But Frank, I was really interested in how we all know how this movie's going to end, just like we all knew how Spotlight was going to end. And you gave that 3 stars because you didn't like it because we knew how it was going to end. But this one you gave 4 stars. So I found that very interesting. Care to elaborate?
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
I guess because I love this movie so much, Spotlight just seemed like a retread to me.
But and that's not fair. Spotlight, of course.
Well, I think the exact thing is happening in reverse for you people. For you people.
No, but see that what I loved, I disagree. For me, I disagree because what I loved about Spotlight is what I loved about this movie. I love the hard reporting and looking for the clues and the knocking on the doors. I could watch that the whole time. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. I don't know that I would go to 4. I'm going to give it the same I gave to Spotlight. That was the crux of the movie, is what I love the most. I think maybe it was because there were so many names that it became like, I don't know who this is anymore. But I did try to pay more attention. So I really did like it.
The Spotlight was a little been there, done that for me. And it wasn't quite as filmic, if that's what I mean. It didn't illustrate the way this movie does.
Spotlight,
like I said, the maze and the
Spotlight is not as cinematic.
That's what I mean. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
So a better director might have made it more interesting visually.
But then there are times when you would say, "Oh, he was trying so hard. We get it. They're artistic." So, I guess it's what you grew up.
It's all, yeah,
From
it's
18.
all relative.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's it.
You were done?
I think so. Oh, the other thing that I loved was when we heard Robert Redford. No, not Robert Redford. Whoever the fuck it was, the guy in charge.
Jason
Guess I don't
Robards.
remember. Was it him? Maybe.
Or whoever.
Whoever came up with calling them Woodstein.
Yeah.
That was great. I assume that was real as well. I just love that. That's all.
Okay. Penny Pizer.
Any
She was
pies?
one. She was the girl that he met in the restaurant and talked to, and she was a staple of TV in the 70s.
She wasn't. Didn't recognize her at all.
And who was Meredith Baxter? Because I saw her name in there.
Yeah,
But I never seen her.
Yeah. She opened the door.
She was
There she was.
What's his face? Stephen Collins's wife.
To find okay, I could kind of see that.
Yeah. And then when his character was like, I never said that, I never said anything. You're like, ah!
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah,
and
just
then
like the librarian being like, oh no, I don't know anything. After saying, yeah, I know that name. Oh my God, that was great stuff.
And you gotta love the guy on the phone who was like, so I hang up or I hold on, and he got it wrong. How do you get it? He explained it 4 times. He's like, you're gonna hang up if I count to 10. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, all the ways they tricked people into admitting stuff is fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. Joel, obviously you have seen this movie before.
I have seen this movie before, more than once. Obviously, it's part
you said you had the Blu-ray, but you didn't want to go get it.
Yeah, it's across the room, and I'm too fat and lazy to go get it. So,
in that order.
Yeah, let's go with that order. It's part of my collection, obviously. It's in the house.
Me too. Yeah.
It's a great movie. And it is easily one of the best movies about the power of journalism. And I don't have a lot to add other than, talking about, what actually won Best Picture that year compared to this film. There are 2 other movies that are in that category that easily could have won Best Picture as well. And we're talking about Network and Taxi Driver.
Network was amazing.
Yeah, and Taxi Driver.
Here's the thing. If it was today, liberal Hollywood would have picked All the President's Men over Rocky.
Yes.
Because they're like, oh, look, it makes a statement. We love it.
Well, they may have picked Bound for Glory, which was the 5th film, and I don't even fucking remember what the hell that's about. So
my favorite movie that year.
Yeah.
that's the Woody Guthrie story.
Oh, okay.
David Carradine plays Woody Guthrie.
I saw that once a bazillion years ago.
What was the 5th one?
That was it. It was Rocky, All the President's Men, Taxi Driver, Network, and Bound for
Taxi Driver. Well, there you go.
That one I saw.
That's another great movie. I think Taxi Driver is actually the one that's the highest on the Franken list.
Makes sense, but they're all 4. It was a tight year for movies, 1976, because you look at the other categories and you start seeing things like, you had Sissy Spacek and Laurie for Carrie. What else was out there?
We'll wait while you look.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not gonna look it up. Anyway, it's as I said, I don't have.
It was a good year for movies, is what you're saying.
Good years for movies, and this is a very cinematic film. Yes, there's a lot of dialogue, but they're also telling the story through the visuals, which are really well done. And I think that holds up for the film nicely, and it makes it very different from Spotlight.
And as much as Amy is confused, I thought William Goldman did a great job.
Yeah,
introducing the characters and
I've never had a problem, keeping track of stuff.
Yeah, no, he does a very good job introducing and explaining, and they explain multiple times who like Harold what's his nuts was. It's just hard to keep remembering it all, but I thought he actually did a very good job. I just needed to
and that's why a movie like this takes a second viewing, just like Oppenheimer for me.
I actually almost did watch it a second
what you need to do now that you've seen this is go watch Nixon.
Yeah,
with Anthony Hopkins.
In like maybe 3 months. I need 3 months.
But that's like a 3-hour long movie, isn't it?
It is, but it's a good movie. It's not a
and just like Oppenheimer, there's also apparently a documentary.
Yeah.
It's the same as the movie, but it's not streaming anywhere. I looked, I was going to watch that.
Yeah, I think they did the documentary like maybe 20 years later.
Yeah, it's called All the President's Men Revisited.
Yeah.
And title wise, everybody kind of gets where it's coming from, or no?
I did read
All the President's Men.
I mean, I just took it to mean everybody's in cahoots with everybody.
Me too.
Okay.
And they couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
That's part of it. Yeah, is that, all the king's horses and all the king's men. But All the King's Men is another film about a corrupt politician from it's is it Huey Long?
48.
Huey
Long.
Yeah. So it's kind of a play on that as well.
That's great.
And here's the other thing. Again, being a timely movie that it was, it really did inform the people that saw the movie, obviously, about what the hell went on, because it was so complex, it was so confusing, who the hell was this and that. So it really did help to explain things for people.
And I think one of the, not to say that the film is important because of this, but it's connected to it historically speaking. I don't think we get to where we are now without Watergate and what happened. I don't think you would have had the flip of the Republican Party to what it is today without the dirty tricks that Nixon played, because he opened a door that, yes, it had been slightly opened before, but not at to this extent, to this level of corruption, of playing evil politics. And I think that's Mark.
I think part of it too was that technology had moved advanced enough that they could bug the Democratic National Headquarters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the technology had moved along so much that you were able to do it. Before, you would just have, people be undercover spying for you.
Right.
But I appreciate it too. I forget who it was, the spokesman or whoever in the White House that kind of disparaged or discounted the Post, saying that, these are, this is not good reporting. Because you see that now all the time, but I didn't realize that they were kind of playing that game back in 1972.
Yeah.
Oh, they were playing that. They've been playing that game since, the first reporter ever did a report on the first, person.
But back then, at least the reporting was legit. I mean, it was good reporting. It wasn't,
yes,
I found this on Google, so I'm just going to report it without verifying anything.
Yeah, but it's still the lamestream media.
Yeah.
Lamestream media.
And we joke about that aspect of things. There are a lot of reporters that still do the proper type of journalism today that is important. We don't necessarily see that or feel that anymore until a big story breaks in some manner. But even then, the politicians have beaten the media down to a point where most people think it's a joke. And part of it is self-inflicted, because we have become a society that feeds on a 24/7 news cycle. There has to be something going on at all times, and it has to be sensationalistic, and it has to keep viewers watching. And because of
clickbait,
we lose stuff. The news cycle will change out, very fast, and it's unfortunate that's where we've come to. But
and you need the distance, you need the time to fully understand what was right and wrong. I mean, like you said, in that very moment where the press secretary was saying this is all bullshit, when we knew it wasn't.
Yeah.
But at the time, we didn't know it wasn't.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, fascinating movie for me. Joel.
Stars?
You didn't.
Sorry, 4 stars. It's a 4-star.
Did Annie give it stars?
3.5.
Annie said 3.5. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest difference between this and Spotlight for me, really. Okay, so next week, are we done?
Yeah.
All right, All the President's Men is not. Is it? Didn't you say you watched it somewhere?
Annie
I
probably
thought-
paid for
Paid
it.
for
Probably
it, yeah.
like $3.70.
Oh, okay. It's not
I
on
watched it on
the.
disc.
It's not on the usual streaming service, but you could rent it. Obviously, Annie did from Prime. Next week, we're watching another Robert Redford movie. His Oscar-nominated role in the Oscar-winning Best Picture of 1973, The Sting, and it's available on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, you can watch it with us and join us next week. Anybody want to come on camera and talk about The Sting?
We used to have fans.
Anybody? Yeah, remember when we had fans?
I think we were talking about we had guests, not fans.
Right.
We had both.
We had guest speakers. Right. Jeff Pliskin was not a fan, but still he came to talk about movies.
He was a guest, yeah.
He would just come on and talk. No, but you know what? We are the biggest fans of ourselves, so that's all that matters.
Exactly.
We are the biggest fans. Annie's asking if we're still on. All right. And maybe she was coming back. All right, so that's it. I'm Frank Gaffney. Go watch a movie.
And also with